Hey guys, Will and Clay here for another builder recap video. We're gonna go over another fan favorite from our 2025 season. So Clay was our main foreman on this one, and I guess we'll jump right in. Clay, for anyone that hasn't seen this project, whether it be the behind the build or our full-length video, let's give them a quick kind of recap on what it entailed.
Sure, yeah. So this was a homeowner who had at their previous house had their own pond that they installed themselves. They moved, had more area. Obviously they still wanted all of the water, and they wanted to make it bigger since they had more room for it.
Sure.
So they brought us in. We ended up putting in about a 15 by 20 pond, medium-sized stream. Yeah, it was pretty smooth, easy.
I think my favorite part about this job is just kind of the way the overall shape or goal of their expectations kind of evolved with us. So walk us through what their vision was and how the project was supposed to go versus ultimately what we did.
Yeah, so like I said, they had their own feature at their old house that they put in themselves 100% on their own.
Okay.
So their plan going into this was just have us come out, dig the hole, put in the liner, install the filters, the skimmer and biofall. Then they were going to do all the rock work themselves because they got really busy with their business and everything, so they didn't have time to do it themselves. Turns out they got even busier and they wanted bigger rocks than they had at their old feature. So they decided, it was actually at the pre-job walkthrough, they changed their mind and they had us do the entire thing start to finish. Yeah, so we rocked the whole thing in. We called an audible on that one.
So were there any kind of hiccups you encountered on this job? Because ultimately, I mean, you can tell from the picture, it's in a wide open space. So access was really easy. You got to drop your material right on site, or obviously on site, but like right next to your working space, all of that. So that part made it easy. But were there any hiccups?
I'd say the two biggest things would be, yes, it was wide open, but it was also right at the nearest end of the pond, right where the skimmer's at. That was their main drainage for that side of the property, including their lavender farm that's right there. It goes right through there. So we had to make sure that we had the pond built up high enough that we wouldn't get any of that runoff into the pond. So yeah, it was basically just doing grade work. And then again with grade work, with that lavender field there, they want to host events. And so they're going to put a gazebo right there off of the pond. So we had to make sure we went based off of that height as well. So we had to build up high enough to that height, but also high enough that we weren't going to be impeding with the runoff.
Right.
So,
I mean, the pond was phase one of their overall design. So, I mean, you pretty much just nailed it. But yeah, so being able to understand the overall goal, whether it be this season or maybe over the course of next couple seasons, how to be able to set the next person or them up for success to go into that, which is, would you say that's common as far as the type of stuff we do?
Oh yeah, it's
right.
Most of the time they have a big plan for their backyard. The pond goes in first, and then everything else can be worked around there.
Right.
Because yeah, especially for the most part, we're the ones that need the machine access, and we're the ones digging the holes. No one wants a giant hole dug next to their brand new patio. They'd rather put the patio in next to the giant hole after it's been filled in.
Right. What would you say that was kind of the most memorable portion of this project?
For me, it was, even though both the clients were so busy with their job and stuff, they were constantly around, constantly giving feedback.
Oh, I love that.
And it was all positive for the most part.
Right.
Like they give their opinions, they trust us as the professionals, but it was still just having that validation of like, this is exactly what I want. And then at the end of it, being able to, since they had their previous pond, them come in and they moved over their fish before we were even off site the last day.
Right.
And we put in plants, some from our shop, some from their old pond, but like they came, they brought their grandkids, all that. You got to see how they enjoyed the pond. That's always fun.
Oh, that's incredibly rewarding. And also that kind of, it makes it not a tricky situation, but it's, you know, they had that pond that they did themselves, so they're fully aware of the labor intensity that it is to dig the hole. Obviously, that's why they wanted us to do it. That's why they called the audible and didn't want to move the rocks. But then for them to feel like they made the correct decision, having you guys do all the work, yes, that's very helpful that they were there and that they had that, you know, like you said, hands-on criticism or input. Yeah, for sure. I know overall that this project took a couple days longer than hoped for or anticipated due to weather. How does that throw a wrench into, you know, the way you plan, or what are the audibles that you call as the foreman as far as, you know, making sure, hey, we're going to get 3 days of rain, we might not be back for a few days? I know one of the times, you know, it rained on like you guys left on Thursday, we didn't get back till like Tuesday or Wednesday the next week.
Yeah, so a big thing with that is knowing that it's going to rain and setting yourself up where you can still show up and work even if it is raining. So stuff like make sure you get the hole dug and the liner in, and you get some rocks in to hold the liner down, but then you show up the next day, you can rock in the pond when it's raining.
Right.
As long as you're not having to make the machine move around too much, tear up the soil. Which that was the tricky part, was it was right when we got done with the pond portion and we were going up the stream, which is where we did a lot of grade work. So it's just a mud hill. You can't put a machine on there because you're just going to dig ruts, and the grade work's not going to be finalized the way you want it to. It's going to settle weird because you're putting those ruts and you're compacting in one area and not in others.
How do you communicate that with the customer as far as, you know, let's just call it setting expectations as far as like, hey, you know, we might not be back for a little bit. This is going to take longer. What do you do to reassure them that, you know, they're still the priority or something like that, especially when it's going into a weekend and they're not going to see us for multiple days in a row?
Yeah, it's all about communication. It's just talking to them, letting them know. And for the most part, people understand we can't control the weather. It's a big thing. They want their job to come out to the best of our ability and just as the way that we want it to. And if we're telling them that's not going to be possible with this rain, these conditions, for the most part, we'd like to think we've built that trust that they're able to believe us. And then, yeah, they are our number one priority. Once we get a job open, that is our number one priority.
Yeah, we don't open more jobs. So, you know, just as much as their project site is sitting on hold, ultimately so are you guys. We do service work. We don't go open another job to try to be a quick hitter or something like that. So yes. So I guess from your point of view, kind of what made this project stand out? With that, what's your favorite part of what you created?
For me, a big thing on a personal level, what I really liked about it, and we kind of talked about it, is I just liked how hands-on the clients were. They've done it before. They understand. They sympathize. They were out there every day. From a professional, from like, this is my work, I really liked the way it turned out, obviously. It was much more of a wow factor than I thought it would be. Just as you drive up the lane, you can see it. It's the first thing that greets you. You're standing at the building, you can see it. I'm super pumped to see what it looks like with that gazebo. And when you can be more interactive with it, I'm excited to see what they do with it in the future, as far as like their events and stuff. And just
I mean, because they had some pretty impressive fish that they put in there too. And I know that they went crazy, you know, in the follow-up when we followed up with them. I know that they were loving it, and so were the fish. I think when I showed up later in the year, it was, I don't know, break for their shop, and there were 4 or 5 guys standing out there just being by it, and then getting to talk to them who, you know, they had seen one before, but not like this, and them talking about just the way their employees now take break and lunch out there. They had their little bench out there and all of that. So it's really fun to see the way it changes like ordinary day-to-day kind of routine, right? So that part is really fun. you know, they say once you have one feature, historically the average is 3, right? So now these homeowners are up to 2. Who knows what they'll add next?
Just waiting for the phone call.
Right. Yeah, that's the best part. If you enjoyed this video, getting to see kind of behind the build, but also behind the build with the idea behind the Foreman, make sure you hit that bell icon and subscribe to our channel so you can see more content like this. And you can also go back and find this video's original full-length one for the actual construction process.